Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here today with Amanda Wilson, who dressed up. You look classy,
Thanks.
like super classy. You said
Try.
when I walked in, you're like, I was dressed like that, and then I changed. So I
Uh,
didn't know whether to feel self conscious or
oh,
like, because
well, I didn't wanna really look like a boy, and then I needed, like, a whole outfit together, and once I took the jacket off, it
yes.
wasn't gonna be good anymore, so I
Well,
was
we're
like, "Yeah,
we're gonna make everyone feel comfortable in their own skin
sure."
because some of these
Yeah,
people, probably look like me, and some
yeah,
look like you,
you
and some
know,
are classy, and some are, we'll say, less classy,
so if you're
and
ready.
and we love all of them. But I just want to thank you for
Yeah,
doing this. Kind of what we're doing here is we're taking the stories that we're
yeah,
sharing with our church
yeah,
in these 3-minute increments, right? They're
yeah,
they're fairly quick. You've lived a lifetime of stories, and yet you shared a
yeah,
snapshot, right?
yeah,
And so I'm like, hey, let's take some time. Let's do a little more long form, some
yeah,
conversation, to
yeah.
give people a little bit of backstory. So first of all, thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing your story. I know some of the stuff you shared were uh, some of the hardest things you've ever walked through,
Yeah,
and to be that vulnerable is part of your generosity of sharing what you've been through.
sure.
And of course, it connects with people because a lot of times someone going through the type of things you've been through feel very alone
Yeah,
and sometimes hopeless. So um, why don't you do this? Why don't you give us like a little bit more of the backstory and
yeah.
whatever you'd want to share along those lines, and let's go from
Just
there.
kinda yeah, so I grew up, small town Mount Vernon, had a great family, great support system. My grandma made us go to church every Sunday. You didn't go to church, you didn't get to go to lunch, so we were going to church, you know? Had a great support system, like I said, and, kinda went to college, and then that's when it all just kinda started. I had that freedom to get to it however you wanna look at that. I joined a sorority, played softball, and I was finally away, got my first tattoo, just did all that
What's
and
your tattoo of? I'm just curious.
a cross.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
but, they weren't going for that
Yeah,
back then,
yeah.
so I had to hide that, but, um, I don't know, it just kinda all started to snowball from there, and just kind of having to pick that apart of, like, where did this go wrong? Like, how did this go wrong is kind of, something I've had to spend a lot of time on. Went into the education field, did that for a while, and then it just got it. Decisions were not good, and I got pregnant with my daughter. Didn't want to really make any good decisions before that, I guess. And then once I got pregnant with her, obviously that changed my life. Completely changed my life. Yeah, I'm like,
She's a life changer, man. Ariella.
"Whoo, Ariella,"
Yeah.
yeah. I tell everyone, I'm like, "If I didn't get pregnant with her, I'm either in prison or dead. There's nowhere else I'm at."
Wow.
Flat out. So,
Wow.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you were pregnant with her, and you
Mhm,
you you kind of got to that place where um yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think it was Dr. Dobbins, like he,
mm,
famous psychologist, who was like,
yeah,
people don't change until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change,
right,
right?
right.
So at some point you came to that it was more painful to stay the way you were than to make
Sure.
the change. Can you talk about that? Like how you got to that moment, like when what that was it just, oh, I'm having a child, I need to get my act together? Was it, talk about that.
Yeah, I think, honestly, having that thank God I had the foundation of God growing up and the prayers of my grandma, I always kinda say now, like, man, those were coming through at that point. I think I always knew as I'm making these decisions, I don't want to be making these decisions, but I am. And I think finally, kind of, like I talked about, getting locked up, going away for a
Mhm.
little while. There's sounds, there's smells you will never forget. Ever for the rest of my life. The first thing that a girl tells me was, "Your face isn't pregnant." When I got into the cell, pretty much.
So I can punch you in the face, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm naive at that time still, honestly. I don't really I sh This stuff is new to me, I shouldn't be doing this, and I just remember, getting out that it was like a Sunday night. My mom came and picked me up, and I just looked at her and I'm like, "It's time. This is
Mm.
it. Like, God's got a hold of me." I mean, they're doing they're reading their Bibles in there. They're doing all this stuff in jail. And it really just, I mean, that kind of sat me down to be like, yeah, I don't ever want to be back here. I don't ever want my daughter to not be with me. I don't ever want this stuff. And I mean, I'm, crying out to God and actually come across God. We went to a little church in New Albany. That's where we were living at the time. Obviously, we're not a cookie cutter family, however you want to look at that. And I came across a website, your guys' website, and it was like 2017. How it said a single moms group was on there, so that drew me. I plugged into like YouTube or something. I don't even know. Tracy Patton's,
The legend.
yeah, like her story about sweeping everything under the rug, and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, holy crap, dude. I mean, this is like my family to a T, like we had a great from the outside, everything looks great, blah, 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 but we gotta just, you don't let anybody know. And
Yeah.
basically that kind of hit me. I'm like, all
And you're
right.
standing on this rug
Yeah.
with all this stuff under it in stilettos.
Right.
And she's like falling over, like, here, this is what my life looks like, right?
Yeah.
That was an
Yeah.
unforgettable message.
Yeah. So that, and I mean, that kind of just, I listened to that. And then I think the next Sunday we came and,
Wow.
Ariella, yeah, I mean, she went into one kids immediately.
Yeah.
That was like my break, right?
Yeah.
At the time, being a single mom, like, oh, we get an hour break. We'll serve all of them too, so we can get like 3 hours of
Yeah.
break here.
Yeah.
No, but yeah.
So there's the famous story of where the Jesus makes up, right? It's a fictional story, but it's the prodigal son, right? And so
Yeah.
he goes off and wants to do it his way and da da da,
Yeah.
right? And so he has that moment where he's lost everything and he's down with the pigs and
Yeah.
he's so hungry.
Sure.
He's so depleted that like pig slop looks appetizing.
Yeah.
And it says in the text, and then he came to his senses, it says. And you think about how sometimes, call it sin, call it choices that we make, that it's like one thing leads to another.
Right.
And it made sense at the time, or I gave in the impulse at the time or whatever. But next thing I know, I look up and I'm like, where in the world am I at? And there is a certain almost like insanity to it, right? You're like, you're glossing over reality. You're making excuses, or you're justifying, or you're whatever. And you just wake up and then there's that moment that you come to your senses, like you said. And there was something about, being pregnant. There was something about the time in jail. There was all of that got you to a place that was like, okay, like I've come to my senses. Yeah. And I think people take all different paths, but often we end up in some spot where like, how did I get here and why am I here? And yeah, I can retrace my steps, but I don't want to be here. I want to get out. And that can be tough because you've got to humble yourself and you've got to go get help and you've got to go make changes and you've got to disappoint people and you've got to do, there's just a lot there. So talk about that. Like you came to that spot, you came to your senses. I got to get help. You got on this website, you heard a message that you went, you know what, I'm going to start walking down this way. I don't exactly know what this path looks like, but I'm going to head in this direction. Then you got in with a single moms group. You got into Celebrate Recovery, right? And all that, the step study and all that. Yeah. Talk about that. Like talk about the path home. Talk about the path like of getting out of where you were.
Goodness. Yeah. I think I was at that rock bottom where I'm either going to choose to like basically live or die like this. What are we doing here? Where I'm at that, and I find that, and I go in and I find out it's not just like Celebrate Recovery isn't for just like addiction stuff, right? It's anything that
grief,
grief, hurts, habits, hangups, anything that like my reaction to like things when they're not going my way are horrible. I had to deal with things with, my dad, with just Ariella's dad, all of those things. And I see this posted to, again, the group website. And I'm like, man, that sounds kind of good, not knowing kind of what it really was. And then joining that, I mean, I have my best friends now. I mean, you get in there, you got to get raw. You got to get kind of dirty with it, really, if you want to be honest. I mean, people go through a lot of stuff. And so when I got to really start examining myself and, I wanted to make that change, and I got to see the effects that it had of those people around me from taking that class. That was cool. It got me to really continue to grow and to actually heal with myself instead of, I'll be honest, early on, once I kind of got out and I'm, coming to church and whatnot, it's genuine, but it's like, am I really going to go all in? I'm still doing some of the things I shouldn't be doing. Um, and then, I joined that Celebrate Recovery class and find people that are going through the same things that you are. Just I think like you said this past weekend, you have no idea like from the outside of what people are going through. I mean, it's really crazy.
I appreciate you sharing that because I do think like a lot of times in church we kind of glorify the story of like, hey, I was all out and then boom, I had this moment and I never smoked again.
Yeah.
I never cussed again. I
Yeah.
never drank again. I never got mad again. It's like
Yeah.
this like fairy tale. And yeah,
Yeah.
man, maybe like, man, if that's someone's story, like
Right.
to God be the glory, like
Yeah.
that's wonderful. But I think most people, it's like this, it's not just up and to the right.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a jagged like path.
Sure.
And like you said, at some point, um, you're making changes and you're making progress, but you have this sort of feeling like, well, am I a hypocrite? Because I kind of, I don't know if everybody knows everything I'm doing, or I'm kind of grappling toward the future.
Yeah.
And I think I appreciate you saying that, and I think like sometimes people get really discouraged in church because they don't maybe have the strength in the moment to like go cold turkey on everything.
Yeah.
And so then they feel like a hypocrite.
Sure.
And that shame causes them to go, then I'm all out.
Yep.
And I think the true discipleship journey, most of the time, in my observation and my personal experience,
Yeah.
is you're sort of iterating, like this is a new iteration and it's not perfect. And you need to, while continuing to take these things seriously and working towards progress, to be gracious with yourself. I've seen like people be really gracious with other people and not so gracious with themselves, and not give way to that voice of condemnation in your head that's like, oh, see, you're a hypocrite.
Yeah.
How did you work through that? Like you mentioned, like you had that kind of some of those thoughts and feelings. Is that how you felt? Did you feel like maybe I should just leave because I'm not everything everybody thinks I am, or were you able to give yourself grace in that process?
I think a little bit of both. I don't think I've ever, after that point, I don't think I ever wanted to, I'm like, I'm done with this. I don't, even things that have happened, since then, hardships, it's like, all right, God, like, what's the solution now? We got to live in a solution based thinking instead of, oh, another problem. I mean, that's how I used to think, like, oh, it's something else. Oh, it's something else. And I think, I mean, it is hard because you have people when you do mess up that they're there to let you know about that. And I think that's hard because I don't want to let other people down. But I've gotten to the point now in my healing that like really your opinion doesn't really matter. I'm
Mm.
God is who I'm trying to serve, and my daughter and my family, and that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I want to help others and be the best person I can, but it's not
I think every so often you got to step back and really look at your progress,
yeah,
because you can become very short sighted. Like you don't win the day, or you have a tough day or a tough season or whatever. To step back and go, whoa, I've really come a long way.
yeah,
I'm changing. And to give yourself credit for that. To integrate that win. Let me ask you a question here. So
yeah,
talking about your daughter a little bit, right? As parents, we want our kids to be healthy. We want them to see us as strong, as like my, confident my parent.
yeah,
I got a great mom,
right,
and so sometimes like struggling in front of them becomes this thing where we feel guilty about it, or again, it kind of hits you in a tough spot. Talk about the journey that you've been walking through personally, and then being a mom in the middle of trying to get your bearings on your own life,
yeah,
and then also trying to lead her too.
yeah. I think that's really been the hardest. task that I've had now, I think, is just making sure I don't want to do certain things or say certain things because that was done to me when I was younger. And so I think just leading her, having the right people around her has been huge. Um, Unfortunately, I mean, her dad is in jail right now because he chooses not to pay child support. I mean, that's kind of a silly reason, but he doesn't help do anything and it never has. And so I've always tried to like I feel guilty because I want to be mom and dad essentially, right? And you can't be. And so just finding people even like at the church, it's men that are just good role models that are in my community of friends. Having her be a part of that has been, I mean, that's been pretty cool. I obviously didn't answer your question at all.
No, that's okay. Well, here's my one of my thoughts on it. Right, is like in a sense, as parents, we kind of default to wanting to be great parents
Yeah.
and thinking that being a great parent is having all your stuff together.
Yeah.
And the reality is, as a human being, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
So if, let's say, I was able to show my kid nothing but success as a dad, and like, wow, my
Yeah.
dad can leap tall buildings in a single bound, and
Yeah.
my dad never has a tough day, and my dad always has a stiff upper lip,
Yeah.
like that, their reality is they're going to struggle. So in a sense, like, part of being a great mom, part of being a
Yeah.
great dad is showing your kids how to struggle, and
Sure.
and them seeing you struggle at the same time, obviously bringing some kind of stability and confidence. Like, you know what, I'm gonna get there. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not there yet,
Yeah.
right? So like, imagine, for example, let's take like money, right? Like, if I'm not good with money, maybe my
Yeah.
parents weren't good with money, and I'm not good with money, and so because of that,
Yeah.
would I want to struggle in front of my kid? No, I might not even talk to them about money because I'm embarrassed about it. Or let's say conflict.
Yeah.
If come from a bunch of hotheads, I'm a hothead, then I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to hide that from my kid versus like going, look, this is an area, whether it's my money, my finances, my
Yeah.
conflict skills, my whatever it is, right? My
Sure.
my insecurities,
Yeah.
to go, this is an area that I'm struggling and I am going to get to a better place,
Yeah.
and to kind of allow them to see in an appropriate way what that
Yeah.
looks like, right?
Yeah.
Because at some point, Ariella is going to come to a spot where she is struggling,
Yeah.
and she's struggling interpersonally. She's struggling intrapersonally, like in her
Sure.
own head,
Yeah.
or in her faith. And it's like, if she doesn't know how to struggle
Yeah.
and what to do when you have that, what kind of attitude and what kind of plan, then what's she going to do? She's going to fall
Yeah.
apart versus seeing, well, like, oh, yeah, I saw my mom struggle.
Yeah.
And so, like, you have to almost like redefine greatness,
Yeah.
like being a great mom, from being the mom, who's always armored up and has no weaknesses,
Yeah.
to the one that knows how to struggle. And
That's
so,
good.
like, I think in many ways, like, what you've done is you've taught your daughter, how to not get stuck in the valley of despair,
Yeah.
how to focus on struggling in the right direction, how to
Yeah.
be humble enough to admit and to get support, and then to be consistent in moving forward.
Sure.
So good job. Like, you
Thanks.
need to kind of integrate that
Yeah.
victory. Like, I'm not trying to embarrass you, but like,
Yeah. No,
you
yeah.
honestly, like, that's a greatness that most people don't necessarily think of, because we
Sure.
think, no, it's the one that's got it all together all the time.
Yeah.
You went into, you joined Celebrate Recovery. You were a part of that. I don't want to, obviously, I know some of those things are confidential, and I don't want to ask you to share anything you wouldn't want to, but
Yeah.
for someone who's sitting there going, like, kind of in your spot where you were at, going like, hey, I know that there's some things I don't know.
Yeah.
I need to get some help. I need some
Yeah.
support, and thinking of this as an option. Talk about what that was like. What is Celebrate Recovery, and how does it, it's hurts, habits, hangups.
Yeah.
What did that journey look like?
Yeah. So essentially, it's a biblical 12-step program, just like, Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever those. Um, I, at the time, wasn't struggling with it like an addiction, but I mean, you pick a couple words that you're really struggling with. Some like my reactions, I'm still not as mature as you with the staying and I gotta vacate. I gotta vacate the
Yeah.
area because I'm not trying to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
um, but I think you're picking three words. So like mine would be self-worth was one of them, right? I didn't have good self-worth at all. At the time, actually, I was like 300 pounds, not feeling good about myself at all. I'd went through just a lot of things, and um, man, just working through those words, and you're constantly, okay, how am I going to view myself? How am I going to react? How, when you're dealing with that all the time, you make those connections because I mean, you're giving the rawness of your life of, man, yeah, I was in jail. That was the first time I'd shared that I was in jail with anybody. And that was a breakthrough of like, look, like, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm just not working at the time. I'm going through the store and I'm just in the bag at Kroger. It's food. It's not even,
Mhm.
and I got caught. I mean, thank God I did. Had I didn't, who knows?
Mhm.
And I think Celebrate Recovery it brought those friendships, those real raw friendships that, I mean, we're talking 5 years later, these women are still, they're the ones I call. They're the ones for the good and for the bad. They showed up an hour in Mount Vernon for my grandpa's funeral. Didn't know the man. I mean, they showed up. Um, I got sick. I was selling my house in New Albany, got sick that day, had to go to the hospital. 23 people from one church showed up and moved my entire house. I wasn't even there. Moved my entire house.
Wow.
Um, you know, Same people, I'm throwing out a single mom, has no help or anything like that with a baby from either parent. And put something up on our website, hey, thinking, get a couple little outfits or what. No, the girl had the entire, I mean, everything she needed for this child, a crib, a swing, all of these things that are coming from these communities that are being made from these groups. Again, from people that are willing though to like, you got to get raw. Like I
Yeah.
want to heal. I want to be better. I want to help others. And so that's really what that did.
No,
It really,
that's
yeah.
what the church is all about, right? I think
Yeah.
we look at like, you look at the church, the American church, right? The
Yeah.
modern day American church, and
Yeah.
like you could see there's things that are maybe disturbing, right? You look and you're like, man, are these deep places or shallow
Yeah.
places, right? Because it could be shallow,
Yeah.
like our experience, like you come in, if it's just singing, if it's just
Yeah.
listening to a speech, if it's just an event,
Yeah.
you come in and out. Okay, yeah, it could just be you're coming to a show, or
Right.
it could be a very shallow experience, or
Yeah.
it could be a really deep experience. It could be a place where God is speaking right to you, where
Yeah.
you are again entering into actual community,
Yeah.
where you're supporting others and being supported. Like, you just mentioned the way others have supported you, but I know
Yeah.
enough to know that you've supported them too,
Yeah.
right? You've
Yeah.
other people that you've showed up for them, like
Yeah.
you help them, right? So
Yeah.
I just it's a big passion of mine for our church that, as we grow numerically, even as we're
Sure.
building these buildings that we're doing and expanding the footprint and
Yeah.
creating more seats and more space, which is awesome. But it's just absolutely critical. It's mission critical
Yeah.
that we continue to deepen our relationships. And part of that is the will of the individual to say,
Yeah.
I'm going to come off of the seat and I'm going to share my life. Like if you had decided to keep walls up, or you didn't make time in your schedule to
Yeah.
come in and sit with people and listen and share,
Mm.
then yeah, I mean, it's not only would you not have had people help you move your house or grieve your family members, but also like you wouldn't have had the depth of relationship and giving that support. So that's really what the church is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of up to all of us to go, I'm going to enter in, and I'm going to enter in with the expectation that it's not all happy go lucky. It's not
Yeah.
all perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
people are going to let you down.
Yeah.
Now, I talk to a lot of people who have church hurt, and I think that's very legitimate. But like I've talked to people who have been hurt by pastors, and I've talked to pastors who have been hurt by people, and I've seen
Yeah.
leaders hurt by people who are following, and followers hurt by leaders. It's like at some point, like we need to have our hearts in the right place. We need to be
Yeah.
humble,
Yeah.
but also we need to expect that we are human beings and we're all trying to grapple to a better place.
Yeah.
And so I just I salute you for your willingness to come in, to give
Thanks.
when you need to give, to take when you need to take, and to allow, people to be people and to give grace in those places. You've been a great a great person in this church, a great
Thank you.
leader, And I see you all the time out serving and doing stuff, and I'm just thankful for you. And thanks for being willing to share your story. And I want to encourage those of you that are listening. If you've not yet found community within the church, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. If you go to our website, you can join a group like what
Yeah.
you mentioned. Like we have
Yeah.
some of them that are specific. So like whether it's like single moms group, like you mentioned, or
Yeah.
celebrate recovery, and so some of them kind of have a niche. But then other groups are just kind of wide open for different
Yeah.
different things, and then also even again serving or
Yeah.
something as organic as sticking around the lobby for a little bit and like just initiating a
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
That's another thing with the church. The larger it gets, you get large groups of people. Sometimes people feel a little funny, like in a
Yeah.
big space,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, where else would I be in a space like this? Well, you go to the Buckeye game, the horseshoe. You're in the thing. You don't walk around just like walk and play. Hey, what's up? What's your name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so sometimes some people are waiting on people to come up to them. But then sometimes people don't go up to people because they don't want to be weird. At some point, you got to go, hey, we're here, we're part of this community. Let's make friends. Let's sit with one another.
Yeah.
Let's connect. And so I just want to continue to invite people into the community of the church. It's really what we're all about. And Amanda, thank
Yeah.
you for being so
Yeah.
generous with your story and for
Yeah.
taking time to give a little more of the backstory.
Yeah.
Before
Thanks.
we're done, is there anything else you want to say, or you say it all?
I think the only thing I want to say, piggybacking off of you, just it's been on my heart. Like, so my biggest thing when I first came to one church was that it was so big, and that was something that I don't want to go to a big church because I don't want to just be a number. And I just want to encourage you that like if you are looking for that community, join a group. Like join to serve. Like that changed my entire life. What I put into it is what I'm getting out. So I just want to encourage someone to do that. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
God bless you guys.